Hey, what's up, dudes? This channel has been really gore heavy for most of its creepy little life, so I want to get back into glam a bit more. It's half the name after all. Let's start with some brows, since I lost mine in my spam folder. I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in chocolate on a thin angled brush. I have a full video on how to do my Invisibrows, but it's a bit outdated, so think of this as a slightly more updated refresher. I start by determining the arch I feel like having by drawing the entire lower line of the brow first. Then I begin drawing short lines up from that bottom line to mimic brow hairs as best as one can when you're working with nothing, until I get to the arch, and then I usually just start drawing parallel to the bottom line again, connecting it all down at the tail. Boom, crash course. Now for anyone with average to dark brow hairs, you won't need to do this, but I find that dip brow alone doesn't fill quite as much as I want, even at full opacity. So now I usually go back over the brow, especially in the outer 2/3 with a brown matte eyeshadow from this Tartelette palette. Usually these two guys specifically. Hey look, I only have on one eyebrow. Okay, slap another one on. Prime your eyeballs with something. I'm using my default Max Soft Ochre Paint Pot. Then I'm using the Clay Play Tarte palette, that's hard to say, Clay Play Tarte palette, which smells heavenly, but that's something we can discuss later. I'm using this pale skin type color to just act as a shadow base. The primer is so that the pigments hold, but this part is so that they blend easier. Work that in wherever you plan on having shadow. Then I'm taking this army green matte shadow on a teeny tiny flat brush, and I'm going to draw in a crease right above my natural crease. I tend to do this right above my natural crease and not in it, because if I sit the brush right in the crease and sweep, it'll end up partially on my lid too. So I fake it a little bit higher if I don't want to have to clean up the lid after. Once I have a rough line drawn, I'm taking a fluffy brush and a bit more of the green shadow to blend it up onto my brow bone. Take your time blending. Use a light hand and a light amount of product. It's always easier to spend longer slowly building than to add a bunch and get it done quickly and then have to take it all off and start over because you ended up with heavy shadow all the way up to your brow. Unless you were going for that, then by all means, go ham. I'm using this tan matte shadow as a transitional color for the green, so it's a little warmed up. Repeat on the other eye. Alright, now come here. We gotta talk. This is serious. Not really. Now I'm using this foil green shadow on the lid using a different fluffy brush. I'm concentrating the shadow mostly on the outer corner of the lid and then blending it out on the center of the lid, with little to none on the actual inside. Pretty standard for a glam look, but you know, that's what I'm doing. Now do the other oh, just kidding. I guess I'm over the snapping. I'm using mint soda pigment from Sugarpill to brighten up the center of the lid because the lash shadow wasn't doing enough for me. Just plop that in the center, and then blend it out by tapping on the edges of where you want it very lightly. Sugarpill pigments are so light that they're really easy to blend out, and doing too much will actually just wipe most of the product away. So use that finesse. Then I'm taking a very shimmery pearlish pigment that I've had way too long, but I won't stop using it until every drop is gone because it's so fluff and pretty in person, but I'm using that on a clean fluffy brush to pat some onto the inner corners of the eye. If you want this to pop even more, put some white eyeliner in the inner corners before patting on the pigment. Quickly for the under eye, I'm using the same matte army green shadow on the same first tiny flat brush to sweep any color at the outer 2/3 of the lower lash line and then blending it out with a fluffy brush. Done for the shadow. Next I grabbed some white eyeliner to highlight my lower waterline and also accentuate how red and veiny my eyeballs are. I hear that's coming into trend. Very allergy chic. Then I'm using Kat Von D's liquid liner pen to try my best not to go overboard with winged liner, but you know. It's me, so no promises. I get asked a lot how I do the point in the inner corners of the eyeliner kind of thing, and I mostly just continue the liner down another millimeter, maybe it's smaller or bigger, I don't know. I'll hold a ruler up to my face next time. But I drag that down a tiny bit more, and then I pull it back up to connect it where my tear duct meets the beginning of the waterline, to be real specific. Probably no one needed that much specificity, but you got it anyway. Do the mascara thing, upper and lower. Then I highly recommend you do the lash thing too. These are House of Lash's Iconic Lites, aka the less intense version of their usual Iconic lashes. Didn't think I'd like these because Iconic, the regular kind, is one of my all-time favorite styles ever, and I usually like bolder lashes as opposed to like the gentle looking kind. But I figured these would be like wussy versions of my favorite, but nah, they're so beautiful, and I actually think I might like wearing them even more. Or I at least love wearing them now with like the no liner kind of looks and no shadow. Just like a really lashy, bare, sexy look. That's for another video though. Anyway. Then I wanted things to get just a little weird, just the tiniest amount of, I'm not sure what's going on here. So I've got these gold little stud jewel thingies from Smashbox, and I thought I was gonna put them in the inner corners of my eyes, but after laying them on a couple different ways using gravity and some uncomfortable neck positions, I decided to put them directly under the center of my eyeballs. I used lash glue on the back and tweezers to place them. It felt a lot like the game Operation, minus the electrocution part, but the stakes were just as high. Let's do some business on the rest of the face. I'm taking Kat Von D's Shade and Light palette and this middle contour color on a Morphe R8 brush to lay down some color in the hollows of my pasty cheeks. I like this brush because it's good for precise placement, but it also is really easy to blend out larger areas as well, so you don't have to switch back and forth so much. I'll use that right in the hollows and under the tip of my nose usually, but for spots that don't need any precise cutoff, like the forehead, I've been using a Smith 118 brush, because it's just faster. Also, surprise, I've actually been digging blush lately. Maybe this is what growing up is. Nah, it's probably just a phase. Anyway, I think this is Ignite by Makeup Geek. I like it because it's a bronzy, blushy highlight all in one, so it gives me some quick color on the cheeks while also giving me a bit of sassy glow on the top of my cheekbones. I'm using MAC's Flesh Stone and Ess-presso liquid lipsticks today, which is also the combo I used in these pictures, which a million of you wanted to know what was on my lips, so there you go. Starting with Flesh Stone, the lighter one, I apply that mostly in the center, not worrying about defining the edge at all. And I gotta say, I'm really digging MAC's brushes for their liquid lipsticks, because some that I won't mention by name make it really difficult to get a precise line without whipping out a lip detail brush, but I feel like for a quick everyday application, this one actually works really well. Then I take the darker one, Ess-presso, and I focus that on the outer perimeter of the lip, defining the shape with this one. You guys know I'm all about that lip ombre life, and that's all that's really going on here. The only thing about doing an ombre with liquid lips is you have to try to blend it out with a brush or your finger before they dry, or you'll have to apply a bit more product or some kind of chapstick or gloss to smooth it out again. Good! Look at my face! This is the face of someone who just put a lot of makeup on. It's revolutionary, I know. But it feels really good to get back into some glam. The next look I have coming up is somewhere between glam and a grungy clown, so look for that next week. And if you've been going through weirdo withdrawal, I have uploaded to my personal channel since the last video. Check it out. I drive to Las Vegas in my new car, and it's super great. It's just great. Okay, check that out and subscribe for more things. That's all I got to say though. Love your zombuts. Later.